Since the 2008 financial crisis, central banks around the world have kept interest rates artificially low. The monetary experiment called quantitative easing. Ben Bernanke, then chairman of the Federal Reserve, claimed he wanted to print money so that house prices and stock prices would go up, thus creating a wealth effect, so that consumers would feel richer and go and spend money, creating an economic stimulus.
Wait! Isn't that what caused the 2008 financial crisis to begin with?
Correct, you advance onto the lightning round. This stimulus package worth $3 trillion in America alone was printed, and the Federal Reserve now has a balance sheet of almost $9 trillion. The national debt escalated to over $31 trillion in 2022. During the years following the 2008 financial crisis, house prices gradually recovered around the world, and stock markets reached all-time highs.
In many countries, a housing bubble began to form, countries such as Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Norway, Sweden, most of Europe, just to name a few. While those who owned a house felt they had newfound wealth, or those who owned a few houses had struck the jackpot. Those who were renting or did not own a home faced a trap. Rent was so much of their income and a house deposit was so hard to save up for, they felt anger and frustration of not being able to get onto the property ladder. For example, if two people were renting and one then bought a home of their own, 1 year later that home might have increased in value by, say, $80,000, whereas the person still saving may have only saved $5,000 and was in a worse of position than the person who had bought a year earlier. As interest rates continued to go lower and lower, the value of the house prices went higher and higher, thus driving rents upward, and at the same time, the interest payments on the existing mortgages kept going lower and lower. This cycle kept on driving up rampant speculation from investors, and people speculating that house prices can only continue to go up. In fact, most assumed they would double. Prices started to really spike from around 2017 until 2019. Prices became unaffordable for many people, but, worse still, rent was also unaffordable. Then in 2020 a global scam. Sorry, I meant to say pandemic. A deadly and serious pandemic swept across the globe. It was first found in Wuhan, China, the same city where there was a chemical research facility. However, it came from Bruce Wayne. He had a cave where he would dress as a bat, and had a Batmobile, Bat phone and Bat credit card, which he never left home without. The virus, without a shadow of a doubt, came from a wet market. Pay no attention to the lab. That is a conspiracy theory.
Yes, we will ignore all conspiracy theories involved. People are just making the ludicrous assumption that just because there was a Wuhan chemical research facility in Wuhan of all places in the world, that there is somehow a link. That is utter nonsense. In wake of the pandemic, lockdowns around the globe were introduced, or restrictions. People were also scared to go out of the home in case they contracted the virus. This caused significant effects to the global economy. So the central banks went into overdrive, printing massive stimulus packages around the world. For example, New Zealand launched a nearly $54 billion quantitative easing program and was in lockdown for significant periods of time, as well as shutting its borders. Interest rates fell significantly, and this led, for example, to a 50% housing price increase in just 1 year, in New Zealand, as well as a spending binge. Stock markets around the world reached all-time highs. Consumer confidence and spending, risk-taking, was as if the party would never end.
But. Not so fast. Then the unexpected happened. Inflation started to sneak into consumer prices and suddenly, things changed. Central banks started to say that inflation was higher than expected. But they said it was not of concern as it was transitory, that it would work itself out. How did it play out? Find out in part 2 of this video coming soon.